Good evening. My name is Patrick Briggs, and I have the privilege and honor of being the AVID Texas State Director. With me on the panel are some young men who have either been in the AAMI program at their AVID schools, or they have graduated from high school and are currently in college. So, without further ado, we want to hear from the young men. So the first thing I'm going to ask them to do is to give us a brief introduction of themselves. I'm going to ask them to give you their name, their AAMI school, where they are now, and their plans for the future. And we'll just go down the row, and we will start on my far left.
Hi, I'm Tyler Anderson from Acorn Community High School. I plan on applying to Dartmouth University, University of Harvard, and University of Chicago for the upcoming summer.
Hi, my name is DeMelvin Stale. I'm from Washington Union High School in Fresno, California. I'm right now a senior. I plan on attending a four-year university to University of Oregon or Fresno State and majoring in sports marketing or athletic training.
Hi, my name is Hassan Gaines. I'm from Antelope Valley High School. I plan on attending Fordham University. In my major, I want to be in criminal justice.
Hello everyone, my name is Raylius Johnson. I graduated from Arlington James Bowie High School. I attend Texas A&M Commerce where I'm a freshman, majoring in mathematics with an emphasis on secondary education, minor in coaching athletics, and I want to be a high school math teacher and track coach, and I'll end up being the superintendent of Arlington Independent School District.
Good evening. My name is Daryl Miller Green. I graduated from Mojave High School out in Las Vegas, Nevada. I currently attend UNLV in Las Vegas, and my future plans are to become an entrepreneur, and I want to open up my own sports agency.
Hello, my name is Corey Tobin. I'm a senior at Mojave High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. My plans for the future is to attend La Sierra University or Lemoyne Owen College in Memphis, Tennessee, and I plan to major in criminal justice.
Let's give all 6 of these young men a nice round of applause. Now, the ways that this will work is I will ask some questions of the young men. They will answer. We'll take probably about 2 or 3 responses to each question for about 20 minutes. And then we will open it up for you to ask any questions you would like. So we have a couple of our AVID employees who will have microphones, and they will be able to take your questions in about 20 minutes. Is that okay? Oh, come on now. Is that okay? There we go. So the first question I would like to ask of these brilliant young men: how did the African American Male Initiative impact your high school learning experience? Let's hear from about 3 of you. How did the African American Male Initiative impact your high school learning experience?
It challenged me. Being in AVID, you were required to take 2 AP classes, and so I knew I had to take 2. But then also I had to meet that certain GPA requirement to stay in AVID and Omni. But then also within that, the guys of Omni, we call it Black and Determined, so the guys of BAD, I had to make sure that I held my duty to them. I couldn't let them down, so I was always held accountable to my grades. So I couldn't say, if I'm not doing it, you can't do it. So I had to do it so they would do it. So it was a mutual agreement between all of us where I was going to take care of my business, you took care of your business, and we were going to graduate and go to college.
Okay, all right. Let's hear from 2 others. How did the African American Male Initiative impact your high school learning experience?
The way it impacted my high school learning experience, all my brothers was there for me. when I was all the way low, when I was on my lowest point. So they actually helped me and told me that I can achieve and that I can be something more than just a failure.
All right. Let's hear from one more on that question. How did the African American Male Initiative impact your high school learning experience?
For me, it impacted mine because teachers around campus, they would know I was a part of AVID. So I'm not saying they gave me favoritism, but like they were more strict on me, and I liked it because like I feel like sometimes being a black male, you have to have somebody pushing you, because if you don't have that, then you don't have. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, sometimes we just don't have enough to push ourselves. So then we start following the wrong crowds. So I think those teachers pushing me and like always threatening to, like I used to get threats like I'll tell Mr. Gaither what you doing, and then it's like come on now, like leave me alone. But you know, it was like all love, and I understood that. So I guess it helped me because like the love I received for being an AVID, it just pushed me to want to do my best. And then I could say I seen my best and worst moments during high school. But I think if it wasn't for AVID and AAMI, like I'd have probably just like, you know, just settle for less. And I guess I was pushed, and them pushing me is what helped me, I believe. So yeah.
Thank you. So my next question, I hear you speaking about the AAMI, and I know in education we love our acronyms, and so some of the young men are calling it AMI. And I love that at Bowie, the boys formed a group called Black and Determined, or BAD. I want to know, what did you like most about being a part of the African American Male Initiative? What did you like most about it?
All right. I feel that the initiative, the way it ended up playing out in my school was it was a separate period. So I feel like that period of like class time gave us, well, at least like me and my brothers in like E3, an alternative platform of education that was like atraditional in terms of just like a teacher versus student type of relationship, like every other classroom setting that we had during the day, where they kind of just like lectured you, and it was a little bit more engaging, and like the teacher was more of like an educator that was part of the classroom experience, instead of them just like, I don't know, instead of it being sort of a hierarchical approach to education. And it taught us more than just like what you need to like pass classes, but what happens when you do pass those classes, and when you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be applying that education that you've garnered in the school setting, and how you're supposed to use that to improve your social living conditions and your experiences in the world.
All right. Let's hear from at least two others on what did you like most about being a part of AAMI?
I liked most of that. I was able to join a club where was a bunch of other students that was like me, that had a focus in, and not always in like all the way into education, how we're supposed to be, but in the club together we learned from our mentors how to put education more in the focus. Because at our school, a lot of us in our club were all labeled as athletes to everybody on our campus, but with this club it gave us an opportunity to be labeled as student athletes more than just the athlete, how they looked at us.
Let's hear from one more at least on what did you like most about being a part of AAMI?
For me, what I like most about being a part of this program is the amount of attention you get from your counselors and teachers. Normally, if you're not a part of AVID at all, then teachers just see you as any other kid in class. Being a part of AVID, you're just set out to take on the challenges of preparing for the next level in academics. You're learning the skills of organization, being able to be more of an individual than to having somebody always on your side, always trying to push you to be successful. You're more set up as to grow up and be an adult than to just be set up for failure.
Now, we all know that AVID is about, what was that, Maria? increasing academic engagement. Love it. And all of the young men were a part of the AVID college readiness system. They were in AAMI, which at some schools may have been a club, some schools may have been a class. So I'd like to see hands. How many of you were in a class that was all boys and it was your AAMI AVID class? How many of you? So that would have been 4 of you, okay? And AVID is about getting access and the opportunity to take more courses of rigor with support. So I'm going to start with Corey, who's closest to me, and I'd like to know how many AP, honors, dual credit, IB, how many of those college readiness rigorous courses did you take? So I'll start with Corey, and I want to hear from all 6.
Well, I have taken 5 honors classes and 2 AP classes.
I've taken 4 AP classes and 5 honors classes.
I took 4 honors, 9 AP, and 12 hours of dual credit or college classes.
I've took 1 honors class and 5 AP classes.
I've taken 1 honors class, but I plan on taking 3 AP classes this semester coming up.
I took 2 AP classes last year, and I'm taking 4 AP classes right now.
There we go. All right. So what I'd like to know, now that we know how many you've taken, how has the African American Male Initiative helped with your academic engagement and your academic achievement? How has AAMI helped with your academic portion of your schooling?
See, the way AMI helped me in my AP classes, we made a shirt called About That Life. And when you wear that shirt, it means like you're about that college life. You're about taking the AP courses. You're about being something more than just a lost soul.
Anyone else on how AAMI helped you with your academic achievement and engagement?
AAMI made me stand out. For my academic achievements, it challenged me to get involved with AP classes. It challenged me to be involved. It challenged me to go to tutoring because I couldn't let down my brothers. I couldn't let down Coach Calendar. I couldn't let down Miss Fuller. So I knew I had to handle my business because if I didn't handle my business, it would handle me, and I didn't want to get handled.
Let's hear from someone else on how AAMI helped with your academic engagement and achievement.
Well, it helped with mine because, like coming up as a kid, I was always like pushed by my mom to do so great in school. She stressed to me like how important education was, and my mom was a teenage mom, so like that made me more eager. So I guess when I got into AVID, it was just like the hunger was still there with me. You know, it's just like high school now with high school problems. You know, girls, sports, friends, like make sure you got time for everybody. Yeah, the girls. So AVID had helped me though because like I think I had a great teacher. Like honestly, Mr. Gaither pushed me. I think he pushed me more than I could push myself. He's a math teacher, so math is a subject I struggled with. I was blessed to get Mr. Gaither my sophomore and junior year. That was the best years of my math life because I seen my most success there. And then like, you know, that success I got those 2 years, it transferred over to my senior year. I took AP statistics, and man, God was with me in that one. That's all I can say because, man, I got in that class. So she put that first test. I was like, what is like? I had an attitude because like, okay, this is a story. Okay, first of all, I wasn't even supposed to be in statistics. I told Mr. Gaither, I was like, you know, it's senior year. I got all my credits. I got more credits than I need. I'm graduating. And he's like, no, you're taking it. And then I was like, man, like, because I didn't want to take trig. And then I was like, I'll stay. So I graduated. I got out of statistics with a B, thank God. And then honestly, if it wasn't for Mr. Gaither, and then if it wasn't for my fear of my mom of failing her, then I probably would have failed statistics. But Yeah, AVID helped me because like that extra help I needed academic wise, I knew I could go. I knew there was always somebody around I could go to for help, and I had I guess that you could say that motivated me because it was like there was no reason for me to fail if like every time I turned left or right there was help right there. Yeah, that's it.
All right, there we go. I want to stick with you, Daryl, and Raylius. These are the two young men that are currently in college, have either just finished or will be finishing very soon their first semester of college. Raylius and Daryl, this is for you. How has being an AAMI helped you with your first semester of being a real college student? Would both of you respond to that? How has AVID and AAMI in particular assisted you with being a first-year college student?
It assisted me because it taught me, I take my organization skills AVID taught me to college with me. I keep my AVID binder with me faithfully. Well, I guess it's not an AVID binder since I'm not an AVID anymore, but I keep my 3-ring binder with me faithfully. I take Cornell notes still to this day. Honestly, I don't know no other way to take notes except Cornell style. Yeah. And I had got picked up a tutor for my philosophy class, and I guess AVID had helped me with that because like before, I was the type of person like if I needed help, I wouldn't come out and reach out to you. Like I just like sit there and try to do it myself. So I guess AVID had taught me how to reach out to people, and like you can like it's okay to ask for help, you know, because everybody needs help at some time, and like just because you ask for help doesn't mean like you're any less smarter than the next person sitting by you, and that's something AVID had taught me.
All right. And Raylius, same question. How has it helped you get through your first semester of college?
To first start off, AVID and Omni, more importantly, made me who I am today. It challenged me to go to college first, but then also it made me challenged to change my major to now education. But then while I'm at commerce right now, I still have those skills that I learned through AVID and Omni. My binder, I still use to this day, Ms. Fuller. My Cornell notes, I do my twist with it. Everything that I've learned in AVID, I incorporate, especially my agenda. My agenda is one of the most, it's like my second Bible. If I lose that, I have lost my life. Because the skills that I learned with my organization has kept me going. It gives me that drive, but then it also has made me have a purpose, really. It wants me to do better. I keep inspiring myself. I keep taking challenges that most students be like, you've gotten here. No, I don't want to just settle. I want to keep going because of Omni. And without Omni, I wouldn't be standing here looking at you right now, to be honest.
Awesome. Now, I'm going to put Raylius on the spot because in the video, you heard in the video he said, I've been accepted to 23 colleges, and I know that was while he was still in high school. So, Raylius, how many colleges were you accepted to when it was all said and done?
In the end, I got 42.
42. Well, there you go. I want to ask some of the young men who are still in high school, so this would be for the other 4 young men. Can you talk to us about the brotherhood, the fraternity that exists because of AAMI, being with the other young men, being with the boys, especially all the boys in your class? Can the other 4 of you talk to us about the brotherhood aspects of AAMI?
All right, the brotherhood part, it was like a system of checks and balances, I guess, like the government, but like in real life. So like, you know, like I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know, if the president would do something wrong, he would get impeached. It was like that. Except with their hands. So like, if someone did something wrong in the group, just like I guess it would function in a fraternity or whatever they do in college. Like, if someone did something wrong, it was like everybody did something wrong. So one person got in trouble, then everybody got in trouble. If one person was late, then it was the same as everybody being late. One person failed their test. It's your fault that they failed their test, because why weren't you helping them study? Or why didn't you remind them that they had to do this? Or why weren't you keeping track on them? If they didn't have the homework, it's your fault. So everybody got the same consequences, you know, whether it was push-ups, chairs, you had to watch TV, jumping jacks, whatever. everybody had the same thing, which kind of held everybody to a higher standard because you had to make sure that your peers or like brothers were doing what they had to do, else you would get in trouble, which kind of made it like, I guess, a family scenario, especially with the shirt and ties too. Like if you wasn't wearing a shirt and tie, it was like, yeah.
All right, yeah, I want to hear from the other three that are still in high school about the brotherhood aspects of AAMI.
I like the brotherhood because you got closer, even though you probably already had friends that you had before you joined the club. Y'all got even closer, and plus you met even more people that you didn't even know that was on your campus and that was in the same situation you are in, and you got to meet them and hold them accountable as we all did together as a one. We made sure that we all stayed on our work because we all played on the same teams and stuff, so we had to make sure we're going to all be eligible at the same time. So we stayed on each other's helmet about turning in work, keeping your grades up, and just being presentable around campus so you'll be noticed, not just as the athlete, but as your student athlete.
All right. We'll hear from Hassan and Corey as well.
Okay, the brotherhood was like, they actually would watch over me. Like when I was on my downtimes, they would watch over me and they would help me whenever I needed help. And we had some fun times, to be honest. Like when we went to the park one time and we was playing basketball and everything, and we had this little altercation with this grown man. But we all helped each other out and everything. I'm not gonna go straight into that, but yeah. It was like they was my real brothers, and like I can tell them anything that I wanted to, and they can tell me anything, and we can get each other out of trouble. We can help each other with classes and stuff like that. It was like they was more of my family than my fam.
All right. And Corey?
Well, to begin with, I didn't come into the AVID AAMI program till my sophomore year in high school. And from transitioning from my freshman year to sophomore year, I only had a little under 10 friends transferring schools. And to this day, I still remember my first day meeting all my AAMI classmates. And honestly, every one of them have helped me blossom into the social butterfly that I am today. So really, every one of them have helped me come out of my shell. So seeing how it is, we've all had fishbowl topics where we had to talk in front of our group of peers, and knowing that you have something in common with every person in that class, it really helped you a lot as far as learning how to speak publicly and just provoke your voice and to just get your thoughts out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Sometimes as African American men, especially when we're in school, it may not be cool to be smart. It may not be cool to take honors in AP classes. Sometimes the expectation from peers is your pants should be sagging or you should be running around, and I'll leave it there. You should be running around. I had it and I said, ooh, that's not going to come out right. So I would love for a couple of you to speak to that aspect. Did you experience any pressure from your peers not to be academically engaged or successful, and how did you deal with that? Can any of you speak to that?
Well, my 9th grade year is when I was walking around doing what I wanted to do and everything. I wasn't very focused in school. So my 10th grade year is when I changed up and started wearing suits and everything, became this person who wanted to take higher classes and everything and work it out. So I had people that was talking to me every day when I had a suit on, laughing at me, asking me, why do you have a suit on? And stuff like that, saying, where you going to court? I'm like, no, I'm not going to no court. And stuff like that. And then like, it was just like everyday process until like I told them, no, I'm in AMI. So every time they see me with a suit on, they like, oh, you're in AMI. And then, so it was very hard, but I got away from it. I got away from the crowd.
All right. Yeah. Hey, anyone else can speak to that aspect of maybe being chastised or teased for being the smart kid?
I had the same aspect that he had. When I came in, I was considered, in a lot of people's minds that were in track, a track person. They were like, why are you going to tutoring? Why are you doing this? Why are you dressing up? Because I had in my mind, I knew where I was going, and I had to act like it. So I had to dress up. I had to make sure I was going to tutoring, taking care of my grades and all. And sometimes people would talk about me, and they would be like, he's just fake. He thinks he's better than us. And then my sophomore year, when we changed the name to BAD, it was, oh yeah, he bad, all right. But then my senior year, when they saw me walking around, they're like, who's bad? I'm bad.
There we go.
And so the perspectives changed because of Omni. They saw we were trying to do something as a whole, and it became where they wanted to come. Like Coach Counter tell you, there was guys coming to our meeting who weren't even in AVID or Omni, but we let them come because we wanted them to go where we were going. They had the vision, and we wanted to help them get that vision. So pretty soon, there was guys that would come into meetings, dressing up, who weren't even there, getting in AP classes, like, hey, coach, can I get an AVID? Hey, coach, you got somebody in AVID that's coach? Like, they were pestering coach, and I know they were pestering me too, like I had the power to do something. But at first I was getting down, I was like, no, I should just stop dressing up and all that. But then after talking with Coach Epps, he was like, you don't let people define you, you define who you are. And so after that, my whole perspective changed, and then pretty soon I started changing other people's perspectives along with the guys of Omni, because our brotherhood could not be broken. Coach County was always telling you are your brother's keeper, so we had each other's back. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you taking AP class? Why aren't you dressed up? Why are your pants sagging? Why are you skipping class? It's the better question. They didn't have an answer for us, but we had an answer for them. And so pretty soon Omni became a force on the school where it couldn't be reckoned with.
All right. All right. This is the last question I will ask before we open it up to the audience for questions. I heard a lot of you talk about your teachers. I'd like for a couple of you to address what does your AAMI teacher, your AVID teacher that was really the sponsor of AAMI, what do they mean to you? A couple of you address that. What does your AAMI teacher mean to you?
Mr. Corey Gaither, he means the world to me. Like, he's like a father to me, no lie. He's been there for me like through thick and thin. I can call him up if I'm ever in trouble. I go to the school still to see him. Like, we got a real close connection. Like, I know if I know if like anything was to happen to like my caregivers or anything, like he's somebody who like I wouldn't even have to ask him to take me in, like he would just do it. I do anything for him, like, and you know, when I start getting my Diddy money, I'm gonna make sure I take care of him because like because like he did so much for me, and like it's not even me. Like I have a younger brother. Who I connected with Mr. Gaither, and Mr. Gaither, like my little brother, he's like a math man, and like me personally, I'm not. And so I told him, I was like, you know, Mr. Gaither's like, that's who you need to talk to. And so my little brother's going to Mojave next year, and I already told Mr. Gaither, like, look out for him. Mr. Gaither, he's like a great man, like no lie. He came to my church with me one time. He takes like he's just I like the way he just carries himself. It's just like so amazing to me because like he's an African American male. He's graduated from college. He takes care of his family. Like he makes sure his parents are all right. And just like the way he just talks about like how his life is. It's just he's not from like where I am. Like, you know, I grew up with a single parent home. He came from a 2-parent home, but it's like still like he understands me. And I think like that's what makes me so drawn to him, because like that understanding he gives me is like an understanding I didn't receive like from a male role model coming up, because me and my father, we weren't close at all. And then like me and my dad just started talking again, but like it's like, yeah, you're my birth father and all, but like if I ever need something, like I wouldn't hesitate to ask Mr. Gaither before I ask my birth father, because Mr. Gaither's been there with me, and he's been there with me for all these years, and it's like my birth dad is just like he's just now coming back around. So I'm just like, I don't know, it's like I don't know. Let me stop talking.
There you go. Great job, son. Great job, son. I get someone else to address that question. What is your AAMI, your AVID teacher, the sponsor of AAMI? What do they mean to you?
Well, Mr. Patterson. Yes, sir. Mr. Patterson is like my father, and Mr. Deloach is like my big brother. So Mr. Patterson kept me on track, and when he left to go teach at SOAR, Mr. Deloach came along and started pushing me along and telling me, you got this. And that just meant a lot to me because they was motivating me more than anybody else.
All right. I'm going to put two of the teachers that have been mentioned on the spot. I'm going to put Jimmy Callender on the spot. And I see we do have our mics on the side. So Jimmy, if you wouldn't mind going to the mic back there with Miss Tara Boyko. And I'm also going to ask Corey Gaither. I see Linda Powell McMillan has a mic over there for anyone with questions, but I want to start with those two. And I said I was going to open up for questions, but I have the mic, so I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to ask the two of you questions about your training and what you did with these young men. For those of you in the audience, we train these 6 schools in culturally relevant teaching, what we call CRT, so that they could not only work with the African American young men, but also with all kids. That's what we're about in AVID. Our AVID's mission is about all students. But you heard Jim, our CEO, speak about we were specifically targeting a group of students with AAMI. So Corey and Jimmy, if you could speak to these, I'm just going to throw out these questions and you can address one or all of them. How did your training in CRT affect what you did in your AVID class and in the other classes you teach? Or how did CRT have an effect on school-wide college readiness? Or the one thing that you learned through AVID's culturally relevant teaching training that was a light bulb or an aha moment for you? So I know I threw 3 questions out there at you, and come in your own way, as we say. These lights are really working with us up here. We can't see anything out there. I see a pink tie.
I guess
Go ahead, Jimmy.
my aha moment was during CRT training was I've always been taught, or I've always heard, I'm colorblind, to my students. And like it said in the video, we learn to appreciate everybody's culture, and accept everyone. And it created a family, like the boys are saying, the bond that we have in our class. I taught a lot of these kids from junior high all the way through high school, and I didn't have them in AVID. And I can guarantee you that a lot of these kids without this program would not have gone to college. And they just getting in that class, it just created something, a positive, like Raylia said. We have kids still today that come into our meetings, dressed up, want to hear it. I mean, they want to be part of something positive. And without AVID, when the CRT training, Bowie High School would be a different place. But also, we have a CREST team now on our campus, and I believe every site does now. And the CREST team is a site team that basically tries to spread CRT throughout the campus. We have department leaders from we had 4 new teachers try to be part of the CREST team. So it's spreading throughout the campus, and it's about building a relationship with these kids. Everything's about data. And I believe if you don't have a relationship with a kid, then how can you reach this kid? And that's what AVID gives to these kids that they don't get from a lot of them from their home. Corey, you want to?
All right, Jimmy. And just before Corey speaks, you heard Jimmy say CREST, another acronym, which stands for Culturally Relevant Exemplary Site Team. So each of the schools has a team that is culturally relevant and exemplary as a site team, and their job is to make sure college readiness is school-wide, but also culturally relevant teaching is school-wide. So thank you, Jimmy. Corey, you want to address one or all of those questions?
CRT, you guys hear me? CRT for me was that boost that I needed to re-energize my enthusiasm for teaching. We all get a point in our careers where we feel like we're just doing the same thing over and over again, and we're not seeing progress. And so when I went to Summer Institute, in 2009 and was taught CRT, that was my fuel that I needed to go back to my school and say, hey, I'm excited about teaching again. And when I got those 25 young males, or 28 young males, that just really, made me want to just do my job even better while I've been doing it. It was about relationships. And something that I did not do prior or pre-CRT was develop relationships with my kids. A typical first week of school in my classroom would be day number 1, take attendance, do your traditional kids who are there, who are not there, find out who's in your classroom. Day 2, I'm passing out books and I'm teaching, okay? And this is no joke. It would take me probably 2 or 3 months to learn my students' names, okay? And they knew I didn't know who they were. They knew it because I would refer to them, hey, you, what's your name again? This is 2 or 3 months into the school year. There was no connection. So after I then CRTized, I guess I can say it like that, okay? That first week of school, I'm learning who I'm working with. I'm learning my kids. I know their names by the end of that first week, and really I know their names by the first 2 days of school, because I use the strategies that were taught to me in CRT, the name tents. When you go to a CRT strand in the summertime, we make name tents. We write things about ourselves on those name tents, and we write comments on it. Well, I took that to my classroom, and I do that to this very day. I leave the name tents out all year long because I use that as a way of positioning kids in the classroom, because I want to sit up front. You always let the AVID kids sit up front. So what I do is I just mix them up every day. They come in, they find their name tent, sit with a different group, and they love it. They love it. They're not restricted to one area. So it's about their relationships, because I truly believe you cannot teach kids that you don't know. And they have to know you as well. You have to be transparent. And like Daryl said, he knows a lot about me already. And so I come from a two-parent household. That before, I never shared with anybody, but that class just really opened me up. And not only did I do this with my AVID classroom, I do it with all my classes, all of it. I spend that first week now learning who I'm working with so I can better serve them. And also, too, something else CRT taught me as well, the difference between equity and equality. They're not the same. They're not the same. And so, and now I'm a staff developer as well, and my eyes are just being opening every single day about how important this work is. And, I know we have a panel of African-American males, but what we did with them, it works with all kids, not just only black males. You can make it work with every single kid at your school. And all does mean all. It does not mean 95%. It does not mean 99%. All means all. We want all our kids to be successful. So these strategies that I've been exposed to, take them back to your school district, to your schools, and implement them. If you don't know what they are, we have CRT in the summertime. Sign up for it. It's one of the best strands ever. I will say that. It's one of the best strands ever. It really has changed my outlook on teaching and education as a whole.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you. So we'll open it up for questions for about 10 or 15 minutes. So if you have a question, I have Tara. I see a hand up here. Would we like for them to come back to you, or do you want to bring mics to them?
Come back to us.
Okay, so if you have a question, if you wouldn't mind going towards the back, I can see shirts, can't see faces. So I see Tara has someone at her microphone.
Good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, whatever time it is. My name is Leslie Gill, and I am from St. Louis. And I am interested to know how you were selected to be part of this initiative. I know in some cases it's a class, in some cases it's a group, but how were the young men selected to participate?
Okay. That may be a question that one of our teachers may want to answer. You have a teacher who would like to answer, how did you select?
Mr. Deloach?
When we were, good evening, everyone. I'm James Martin from Woodlawn High School, Baltimore, Maryland. The process we did to select our kids, we wanted it to be similar to the college process. So in middle school, our site team members went to the feeder middle schools, and we did presentations on AVID to 8th grade AVID students, but all 8th grade students. And they had to fill out an application, They had to get references or recommendations from one from a guidance counselor, one from their teacher, and one from another source. Their GPA had to be between a 2.0 and 3.5. What we noticed, even with the 2.0 and 3.5, is sometimes we would take applications where you might have a student that's close to that 2.0 just because it's someone who needed to be in that program. Through that, we took the applications in, our site team, and we went through the applications, and we had a rubric that we went through to select our students.
Thank you. And first and foremost, they are AVID students. That's first and foremost. So the selection process mirrors the process to get into the AVID College Readiness System, or the actual course on a campus called AVID. So for these young men and the many others, they were selected like you would select an AVID student. But does anyone want to address, how did you narrow it down?
Yes, we have one.
Okay.
Jermon Kearney, Mojave High School. Our selection process has been narrowed down. It's gotten more and more specific every year. At this point now, we start off by going through transcripts, looking for students in general, and then as for our AVID program as a whole. Then over the summer, and well, not necessarily the summer, but at the end of the spring, we have the students come in with their parents to be interviewed by both a panel of teachers, just as they would for a job, so they're clear on what the expectations of AVID is. And once we have the parents buy-in and the students buy-in, then they must be voted in by the teachers. During the school year, we take recommendations from teachers who know what our program is about, and once they're recommended, the student still has to, again, go through a panel interview with 3 to 4 teachers and basically show us that they want to be in the program, they're energized by the idea of going to college, and that that's something they're interested in.
Thank you.
We have another teacher back here.
Okay, yes, Corey.
Corey Alexander from Acorn. So we narrowed ours down by, actually after the second year of AMI, what we did was we would accept them as sophomores while they applied. Because what would happen was we would look at the data and target, based on the data, who we felt would benefit the most from being a part of the program. And then we would consult their teachers and so forth and so on, and then we would give them an application, we would have a small workshop, let them know what the program was about, and they would apply. They had write an essay, there was an interview process, and they were selected via that way.
Thank you. Any other questions that you'd like to have for our panel of young men?
I have a question over here.
Yes.
Thank you. My name's Hydra Mendoza. I'm from San Francisco, and I wanted to first thank and congratulate the young men at the table. And it takes a lot of courage to sit in front of a large group too, but it sounds like you guys have had a lot of great experience. I have 2 questions, so one for the students and maybe one for the adults. I want to know how AAMI has impacted your home life, and do you carry that over, your discipline and your desires and your rigor to home, and how are your families supporting you on that? And I'm in the mayor's office in San Francisco. I do education policy, and I'm just curious how outside forces support what's happening in the schools. We have a great relationship with our school district, but I'm more curious around other resources and responsibilities of our city and members in our city and the roles that they've played in these young men's lives.
Okay. Young men, how has being a part of AAMI affected your home life? Have you seen any spillover from school to home with AAMI?
First of all, most of us come from a family where we really don't have that support that we need. So sometimes most of us come from that broken family, that broken mentality where we don't have a dad, we don't know who our dad is, abusive relationships and stuff like that. With Omni, you have people who are there to support you and to encourage you, so it's like they become your family. Most of the time, I can talk from my personal experience. Coach Callender has seen me through the ups and downs, where he knows more about me than my mom knows about me. Miss Fuller, Miss Moorhead, they know more about me than my mom, my sister, my grandma. People know about me because they have become my family. They have become that support. And because they have become that support, I'm who I am today. I didn't go the other way because I was on the verge. People thought I had it on point, and on paper I did look like I did, but in reality I didn't. In my mind, I was veering left when I needed to go right, but I had them to pull me the direction I needed to go and encourage me and show me that there was something and I was somebody and I needed to make something out of my name because I am a legacy and greatness is inside of me. But I just have to set myself up to do it. And through them, most of us are where we are because of them. Like the senior class I'm with, we talk more on a personal level, and some of the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, we talk more on a personal level, and we'll say, if it wasn't for this, we might be dead. We might be on the streets because we come from a broken family, and we needed something, and this is what we needed. So if that answers your question, I really don't know if it does, but most of us don't have that family support that you talk about. School is that support that we need and that we get.
Does anyone else want to address the family? Yes, thank you. Does anyone else on the panel want to address how has AAMI affected your home life?
Yeah. Okay. In terms of a counter narrative, I wouldn't say that I come from, I guess, a broken family or anything like that. But nor is it like I'm completely dependent upon my family. I would say I'm pretty much like, well, no, I'm independent in my schoolwork. So like all the things I do it by myself, like my schoolwork, my debate work, whatever extracurricular class I do it alone. And like with AAMI, like it was one of the cohesive things that you had to learn how to do with other people, I guess, in terms of building coalitions in a sort of way. So like, especially when there was like a large section of class where we had to study creeds and study poems and like memorize those things so we can recite them in class because they were supposed to be like points of reference that we could use in terms of internal empowerment or just things to remind you of who you are, where you come from, and where you need to be going. So that took up a lot of time because you had to go home and you'd be memorizing that. But like in terms of how it affected my domestic sphere, I would say it allowed me like alternative paradigm. So I started to see things through, I guess, a different lens in terms of like what we learned in the classroom setting. Because a lot of the times you would look at videos, like there was one video in particular where we watched how your name would impact where you where you went in life, or like especially in terms of job interviews, like if your name was, I guess, blacker, or your name was like more of a minority name versus, I guess, a privileged name or a different name, people would recognize you differently and you would be set up for like different opportunities in society. So you start to, I guess, when you learn, like the more you learn, or the different and diverse things that you learn, when you go back to your own sphere, you start to see things differently, like, oh, this person's name is this. I wonder if that means that they're gonna end up like this or whatever, or do you want to do more to change that setting? Or if you learn about, if you're in a classroom that day and you learn about gang violence or like military or something, and you go home and you start to see things in the street or in your own neighborhoods, you start to see those things differently too, and then you start to think about like the actions that you could take to change certain circumstances.
Thank you. And I'm not going to ignore the second half of that question, but that is a question we will be addressing tomorrow in our morning session. So I've written that down, and we will not leave tomorrow morning without addressing the second part of that question. We have a question over here.
A lot of you guys met me. I'm Deontay Wright. I'm also with the Mojave AMI program. I know we have a lot of, even though there is a strong brotherhood, it's a lot of egos in one class, so that's a lot of conflict. And I know with our class, if two people have conflict, Mr. Kearney is not playing any games. Everybody's going down for the punishment. Like how Tyler said, we do push-ups and stuff, like we do our own things, but that's just conflicting ourselves because he doesn't want us going against each other, because that's what we're trying to defeat is black people going against each other. So I was wondering, like the guys in like from Texas, New York, California, and oh man, where's your, I forget, oh, Maryland. I think he's from Maryland. He's in Maryland. Yeah. How did you guys like deal with conflict between you guys in your classes?
Whew. You want the honest answer?
Yes, we want the honest one.
At Bowie, sometimes we had to have what we called off-the-record meetings, where I would have to ask Coach Calendar, Miss Fuller, Miss Sandoval, I say, I know we're having a meeting, but could you please come about 15, 20 minutes late? Well, we really had to, like, we would sit and talk and discuss things where, because we were that brotherhood and we wanted to stay between us and we wanted to handle it within ourselves. And we had come to Jesus meetings.
There we go.
A lot of them. But it worked because it wasn't always myself talking at the Come to Jesus meetings. I had the freshmen, sophomore. We got different aspects, and it made us stronger and better as a unit. Because like I said, we became a force that couldn't be reckoned with. If you tried to, you couldn't wreck us. But it was because we had the support that we needed, but then also sometimes we just had to say, you know what? We need to meet in the gym at so-and-so time, and we have some issues we need to discuss. Too many of us are failing, or too many of us aren't handling our business, community service-wise, or whatever it is, and we need to discuss and get down to the problem, how we're going to fix it.
Let's take one more on that one. Yeah, thank you, Rayleigh. From the other schools, how did you address when the egos started to clash or conflicts among the brothers?
I think that, well, and I've seen it happen, like, when people start to clash, like, the brothers, they would end it very quickly. So I'm in, like, I guess the second generation of this. So, like, the first generation, when there was a conflict in there, like, none of the brothers would, like, let anybody fight or anything, like, before that even started or before it escalated. They'd be like, no, that's not happening. Or they would, like, hold people back and stuff like that. And then in terms of, like, how it played out in consequences, like, the deans or like the faculty of the school, they wouldn't be so quick to suspend people or things like that. Rather, they would refer them to the advisor, like Mr. A. Corey Alexander, or they would refer them to whoever is leading them. And then, you know, it would get like they would have that discussion right there and right then, so that it didn't escalate any further. And it was more of like a talking things out and just like understanding versus, you know, conflicts, physical conflicts and stuff like that. And I think it's better because, you know, a lot of times if that happened for other people, they would be quicker to get like suspended or kicked out of school or something for that, versus them having an advisor who could be there to support them in those scenarios.
Thank you. I see we have two folks over here, and one over here and one over here, and we'll take both of those, and then we'll bring up our Executive Vice President for closing remarks.
I come up to address an earlier question, but I'll just address the latest one. One of the things that we had done in terms of peer conflict mediation and resolution, actually I had shared with was it last Summer Institute or 2 Summer Institutes ago, the powwow. So if there was an issue that any one of the gentlemen had with someone else in the room, when they saw me in the morning, they would say, Mr. A, we need to have a powwow. So we would circle the desk up. There would be 2 desks in the middle. And whoever you had the issue with, you called them out, you talked about it in the middle in front of everyone. Everyone else gave their input and so forth and so on, but it wasn't like a bashing type of, you did this wrong and you always messing it up. It was more of like a constructive criticism type of environment. You shook on it, the issue was dead. And anytime there was an issue, like he said, at several Come to Jesus meetings, we had too many powwows sometimes. I was just like, I'm tired of powwows. Like, y'all supposed to act right. You know? We're supposed to be brothers. But Tyler said he's part of the second generation. He was the second cohort of AMI. So when he was merged in, by that time we had kind of not done away with the powwows, but we hadn't done so many of them. But he spoke to it a little bit. I was just going a little bit more in detail.
Thank you. And our last one before we close out, and know that the young men will be with us tomorrow morning as well, and so will the teachers.
I would just like to say how proud we are of you. And Patrick, I know you're going to end this in a round of applause, so I won't elicit that from the audience. But I do want to say to the young men, since this is the first time ever that you have met your brethren from across the United States, how has that experience been for you to just meet each other today?
Oh, for me, it's I feel like it's just like I'm back with my class again, honestly. I haven't got a chance to like formally have a full conversation with everyone, but I'm sure that time will come. And of the ones I have had conversations with, they're like real cool. It's like I guess you could say like distant cousins, like a family reunion type setting for me.
Anyone else want to address that question?
Over here. I feel the same way as he said. When I first came, I didn't expect that. I thought everybody would be like quiet and not really talking to each other. But these guys, they're verbal and they talk to me, and I felt a lot comfortable around them. So it made my experience coming out here a lot better than what I thought it was gonna be. So I'd like to thank all y'all. Nice meeting y'all. Thank you.
Okay, I'm getting the wave.
2 waves, actually.
I have one more student.
Okay,
Well,
we have
I want-
Xavier from Bowie.
Hey everyone. I wanted to say from my perspective, it was really cool to see everyone because I realized there are more people like myself in Rayleigh. Because coming from Bowie, we do have our boys who are growing to be like us, but being in a predominantly black school, not all the males are like that. And to see other guys aiming for the same goals as you, it makes you feel good and want to try even harder. And we're already starting to stay connected with each other, Facebook, got each other's numbers to push each other forward. And like, that's the coolest thing about meeting these boys for the first time.
Thank you, Xavier. Okay, this is it. This is it. But I appreciate who is standing there because, young men, I want you to hear from this brother. He used to be you.
Yes.
And I think, have you finished your master's or?
I graduate Saturday, thank God.
Graduate Saturday with his master's.
I wanted to really quickly congratulate you, my young brothers. I'm so proud of you. Like, this is good, man. This is good. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. But you have a lot of very intelligent, talented people out here in the audience. And I want to ask those of you who are in college right now and those of you who are about to go, what else do you need so that you can keep moving forward? Because we can help you out. What else do you need? And I want you to seriously think about that question and do not be scared to ask for it, because there are a lot of talented people in this audience who can get you places and help you out, because we see the determination and motivation you have. So think about that, and when you figure it out, come let me know, because I can help you out.
We can answer that, right?
And the voice you're hearing is Jonathan Grant Brown, who was a Summer Institute speaker for us in 2006, I want to say. About 100 pounds ago, he says. So boys, think about that one. I want you to think about that one, and we do want an answer to that tomorrow, because we are here to support you. So don't want you to have that answer now. Think about it, and we're going to ask you tomorrow, what do you need from us to be successful?
We got that.
Money, I know is probably coming. So checkbooks, bring those tomorrow to the morning session. At this time, I'm going to bring up Granger Ward, who is one of AVID's executive vice presidents, to close us out. Let's give the boys another round of applause.
A standing applause. Did you guys think you'd get this?
No.
Were you a little nervous when you started?
No.
Well, I was watching from there, and I could see a little bit of nervousness, just a little bit.
A little bit.
But your comments, was that a shaking hand? Were so powerful. And I appreciate your willingness to share. Some things probably you haven't shared other than in your classroom with your brothers. To share with this group of folks who you're just meeting tonight for the first time. But what you shared with them is a powerful vision of what is possible. And from the video that you saw that Graham put together to these young men, this is the evidence of what can happen in schools and in school systems and districts and communities. And our job, our role, is to make sure we spread this throughout this nation and wherever else we can be, because they are the future. You know, and that is almost a cliche that people hear, they are the future, they are. Look at these guys. The power that they have, what they'll do in terms of changing their own, not just their lives, but their families and their communities. We need to be multiplying this hundreds and thousands of times. And our work here over the next 2 days is to look at what we've been able to learn from AAMI and from CRT and say, how do we take it to the next step? That's the power of what these young pioneers have done for us. And so I want to thank you once again from all of us for being willing to share. Although they can't see you too much because of the bright lights, there are a lot of people out here. And they can impact their communities. Not just the communities that you're in, but the communities that they live in right now that need this kind of vision and the support and what we call a blueprint to move this forward. So I want to thank you. As Patrick mentioned, my name is Granger Ward. I'm one of AVID's executive vice presidents, and they talk about a teacher, and they talk about that person that had that relationship with them. That is so critical. And it brought to mind a gentleman, because I always mention him. His name is Mr. Searcy. He was my 11th and 12th grade English teacher who forced me to apply to go to college, and who called my mom when I'd said no. But because of that vision, generations got changed. And that's what's going to happen with these young men, because the teachers and their schools have had that vision.